Hey, this is Jeremy Yahoo Weeps, and oh, my dog. Hey, I had something that I was discussing with a friend, a certain question. So I'm curious what other people's thoughts are. I'll share my thoughts with you about it, but first, I'm just going to ask it. What do you call other people that decide that they're going to force you to do something or not do something? They're going to force you. What do you call them? So that's my question. So if anybody has any ideas, please feel free to leave comments, feedback. I'm really curious. What do you call someone that decides that they're going to force you to do something? Or they're going to force you not to do something that you are going to do or want to do or something like that. Okay, so my thoughts. When I was talking with my friend, he was saying that you'd basically call them like murderers or rapists or thugs, which I think he's right. But I think that there are other people that force you to do things or not do things. And you can call them parents. I think those are the first, that they are more powerful than you. They're in a position where they have more power, they have more strength, they have more intelligence when they're raising you. So they can force you to do things. And, but I think good parents would be acting out of love, and they would put love as the interest above and beyond their own desires for power. I mean, most parents, well, hopefully most parents, many parents, actually love their children. It's something that the Creator instituted. He put in parents the a natural love for the child that they have, so that they're going to be interested in benefiting the child, even when they have to discipline them. If they're being good parents, the way it's supposed to be, they're going to be interested in benefiting the child whenever, with whatever they're doing, whether they have to discipline them or whether they have to make them do something that the child isn't choosing to do or doesn't want to do. So that's the first scenario. So basically, from birth, you're in a position where others are deciding to force you to do things or not do things. Then you have teachers. If you have a teacher, if you've ever had a teacher, the teacher is also in a position of power and authority over you and can make you do things whether you want to do them or not. Um, then when you're done with education, you're done with having a teacher. Well, when I say education, I'm talking about education where there's actually a teacher and fulfilling that role. Then you go into society, and then you have situations where it's more of contractual scenarios. Like, say, if you go and work at a job, you have some form of contract where there's someone in authority. A lot of jobs, not all, but some jobs, many jobs, have someone in authority over you telling you what to do, making you do something whether you want to or not. But you're willing, a lot of people are willing to do it because of the contract, because what they will gain by submitting, by being willing to do the things they don't want to do, what they'll gain from that, they value higher um, than not being, because of it's a means to survive, or because of money or whatever. Um, but those are contractual situations. Then you have the contractual situation with, say, a bank. You have all kinds of contractual situations. Um, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Work, bank. Um, oh, my situation, I rent. So if you rent a house, you have a contractual situation where there are rules and regulations, things you can and cannot do, and you can be forced, in a way, yeah, definitely in a way, to to comply, but it's a contract that you can decide whether or not you're going to enter into it. But of course, there's the element of necessity. If you need a place to live and that's your option, then you're in a way it's almost, well, you're not really forced into it, but it's a necessary thing for you, so you kind of have to do it. So there are contracts that are situational like that, where you have to do it. And then there's government, and say government decides to have whatever laws they decide to have. Now that's not a contractual agreement, because they have not consulted you and gone, are you willing to obey these laws? Are you willing to live under the authority of these laws? No, you just have to. And the only situation is either you live under those laws, or you have to go find somewhere else to live, with whatever difficulty that might entail. And that may entail lots of difficulty, so that it's not a feasible option for you. But then with the laws, and government says you need to do this. Well, if you don't, then government can send in police or military and force you to do the things that you either choose not to do or don't want to do, or whatever. Make you do things you don't want to do, not let you do things that you do want to do. So yeah, government is force. So first there's parents, then there's teachers, and then there's government, and then there's thugs, people that are um, violating you, rape or murder or theft or things like that. So yeah, those are people that force you to do something. And like I said, with contracts, a contractual situation, you're not forced to enter into the contract, but you may be. It may be necessary for you because of situations in life. There are a lot. In fact, it seems to me like there are lots and lots of situations in life that you find yourself in a necessary position where it's not actually being forced on you to be in the contract, but it's necessary for you to be in the contract, whether you want to be or not. And so then you come under the situation of force. Um, and as far as I know, most people, if not all, are in this situation. And if they're not in this situation, well, I can get into that maybe later. Maybe I will. But yeah. So the situation where people are forcing you. Then of course there's pressure situations, social pressure, other people pressuring you. And then there's manipulation, where say like churches can manipulate, and people manipulating truth, and people manipulating facts, and people manipulating information to get you to be a certain way or do certain things. Um, and I mean, that happens all the time, I think. Manipulation and pressure, social pressure. Um, so yeah, there's these elements of force. Now, of course, if you go to Scripture, the Bible, what people call the Bible, Scripture, and basically Scripture, I think, just means writings. So it's the writings, but it's the separate writings. They call it the Holy Bible, but it wholly has to do, I think, it has to do with like the sun and halos and having sunlight and sun worship kind of thing. But it's actually, the Hebrew would be separate. It's a word that means separate or set apart. So it's the separate writings, and they're separate from everything else. They're writings from the Creator, and there's no other writings like that are from the Creator. So it's the separate writings. So in his writings, his examples that I can think of off the top of my head of like people using force, what he calls someone that forces you to do something, when people that decide they're going to force you to do something, he calls them iron. He says, when just like iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. He calls them iron. So when somebody forcing you to do something, it's like they're iron. Um, Now, of course, no one can actually force you to do anything. All they can do is offer you, is give you ultimatums, or try to make you. I mean, of course, well, no, I can't say no one can force you to do anything. I mean, if they're not physically making you and you're not able to overpower them, if they're physically making you, then either that or they're just they can give threats. They can say, if do this or else I'm going to do this, and then you decide, would I rather do that or whether rather have suffer the consequences of whatever threat they're promoting. If they say, give me your wallet or I'm going to shoot you, and then you can decide, well, would I like to give them my wallet, or am I going to take my chances on being shot? So, I mean, of course, it'd be more sensible to give them your wallet if you're going to be shot, but there's these all kinds of scenarios like that. So, in many situations, I think there's a matter of choice, even though the choices may be crap. The choices may suck, but you do have a choice. So, I mean, of course, there's many situations where you don't, but yeah, he says, just as one man sharpens another, just as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And then there's also the situation where with Yoshua, where they forced him to, but they kind of didn't force him. They forced him to be executed, to be tortured to death, but they kind of didn't, because he went into it willingly, and he knew ahead of time that it was going to happen. So he went into it willingly. So even in that situation, he was the one in control. Now, of course, he was controlled by the Creator. He submitted to the Creator, but he was in control. Under the Creator, he was the one that was in control. They may have been executing him. They may have been torturing him to death, but they were only doing it with his willing compliance, which I think is very interesting. So, yeah, so I see freedom as an illusion. This world is a world of, well, it's like a prison. I mean, you don't choose to be born. You don't choose to grow up. You don't choose to age. You don't choose what gender you're going to be. You don't choose your eye color or hair color unless you get it artificially changed, but that's different. You don't choose your height. For the most part, you don't choose your weight. There's all sorts of things you don't choose. You have no choice in that. You don't choose what people are going to be in your life, for the most part. You don't choose your family, what family you're going to be born into. You don't choose your parents. You don't choose what place you're going to be born to. So there's many things. I mean, of course, there's some choice, but even that's predetermined. You can't make up somewhere in your head and choose to go live there and have it manifest in reality. You don't have the power. You don't choose what the colors are going to be. You don't choose what color the sky is going to be. You don't choose how the universe is going to be. You don't choose how other people's behavior is going to be. I mean, you can affect it by doing certain things, but you can't choose it. And then, of course, other people's behavior can affect you. So, yeah, there's so many ways that people are not free, but I think there's a reason for it. I think the Creator's using that for our growth. And yeah, I'm kind of babbling now, but I do see that those are the people that force you to do things. Your parents, and hopefully they're doing it in love. If they're responsible, that's a huge responsibility, because when you're responsible for forcing someone else to do something, you better make sure you're doing it right. And it's got to be in love. and then teachers, and government and thugs. And too often government are thugs, but you know. Interesting. And then, really, since parents are placing their children with the teachers, then the teachers are completely answerable to the parents. And since government is going to have authority over people, then government is completely answerable to the people. I mean, unless they're just like corrupt and manipulative and untrustworthy, and which is, I think happens way too often, maybe most of the time, all the time, I don't know. But yeah, that's how we're not free, but it is all the people that do that, all the people that force things, they're all tools of the creator. All of them. Every single one. I mean, we all are, but they are definitely. Because really, they're not really the ones in authority. The creator's the one in authority. They're just doing whatever he chooses for them to do. Because really, it all goes back. Because he's Yihweh means the self-existent one. He exists, the self-existent one, independent of anyone or anything else. He exists. No one else can say that, but he can. And another name, title that he goes by, another name is Elohim, and Elohim means the ultimate powerful authority, the prime mover, and the most gentle protector. So he is the ultimate powerful authority. So what he says goes. What he says happens. How he says the way it is, that's the way it is. He's the ultimate powerful authority. He's all-knowing, all-wise, all-good, everywhere, and omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, all-powerful. He can do anything that he chooses to do. There's nothing that he can't do that he chooses to do. So, and then really that since he is that, it comes back to a matter of trust, and is he really good or not, and really loving or not. But he is. I've gone into other videos on this, but that I talk about why. But he is love, and goodness reign supreme. Love and goodness reign supreme. Evil and anything contrary to love and goodness are only servants. They're only servants doing love and goodness's bidding. Love and goodness reign supreme. And love and goodness has you and has me, loves us, incredibly so, and is growing and teaching us, whether we realize what it is being taught or not, whether we realize or see the growth or not, it's happening. And love and goodness will not stop until love and goodness are actualized for each one of us and fulfilled, brought to fulfillment, fruition. So it's going to happen. But as far as people that force, well, I'm starting to lose it because I'm kind of tired and kind of slightly out of it. But yeah, the Creator has us, loves us. All people that do force are tools of His, and if they're wise, if they're wise about it, they submit to Him and they do right by Him. And I mean, if He chooses to have them not do, that's up to Him. But I think if they're wise, they'll submit to Him and act in love, real love, not self-interest, not a sham love, not a con game love like I see in government, but real love. If they're going to be responsible, because if they're not, all that means is they've got to be it's got to be purged out of them. They've got to be purified. I mean, each one of us has to be, but I mean, the more you rebel and act contrary to love and goodness, the more you've got to be purified. And that purification is not always a pleasant process. Good process, but not always pleasant. So yeah, if they're, the most wicked, the most abusive, the most psychopathic people, they're going to be purified, and if they do evil to others, it's going to be purged out of them, burned out of them, purified out of them. So wow, okay, I gotta wrap this up. This is like way long, and I'm just kind of babbling. So hopefully this has been helpful, interesting. Feel free to leave comments or feedback or whatever. And I hope you're having a very good life. Shalom, au revoir, do svidania, slán, arrivederci, ni hao, bonjour, auf Wiedersehen. Bye.